ever saw, just like I happened upon it online, and I remember it was Alex versus Urian, and I saw, at the very beginning of the game, Alex rips his shirt off, and I was like, oh, this game's kind of okay. And then you remember what Urian does. He essentially just like goes from business suit to Japanese thong. I was like, oh, that's okay. I guess that's what this game is. Okay.
Yeah, so these two players here, we got werD from Toronto, we got hyruleherojoe from New York, so battle of the Northeast. It's just Northeast and Northeast at this point.
Beefcake, is he actually sponsored by a piece of cake?
He goes by a few names. So one of them is Beefcake, one of them is werD, and then I think the T is like Toronto.
Wasn't there a Canadian player named Beefy Lovelord? Am I making that up?
It could have been him. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, he was an Astaroth player.
Maybe not. Okay. Yeah. We got Joe going in with the spear mode. I like it. But now we got werD pushing him away with these 6As, but doesn't do the full animation, goes into a throw instead. What a great mix-up.
I appreciate the fact that Ivy is staying safe in this kind of crisis. Really ahead of her time, as she's, worried about the COVID-19 crisis in the late 1500s. But it looks like she's going to end up getting a ring out and potentially make Azwel try to deal with some hypothermia. It does look like pretty cold water down there.
Yeah, I don't think the face mask is going to help too much with the hypothermia.
Not normally, no. That's why she kind of has to stay on the ground.
That's fair enough. Okay, well, sometimes you just get AGI'd by the 1A.
Hashtag just Azwel things.
Right?
Oh, okay.
Got this big wall pressure, but no, werD gonna pop soul charge and try to push him away. I like it. Oh, and the 6-6A pushing him a little too far, and another jump K coming from werD, getting a lot of work done with those. That one AGI wasn't enough to deter him, and this is possibly another ring out.
Yeah, it is. No, yeah, it is.
Wow. And werD just a dominating game one. 2 ring outs, and Joe was trying to push on this offense, but got a little too ahead of himself, and 2 times in a row, werD able to get that 9B and get those ring outs. So great stuff.
Yeah,
from werD
I feel like Joe wasn't necessarily focused on the stage positioning, especially at the end of the round. In the last round, he tended to. It seemed like he felt desperate that he needed to start doing something, because it wasn't just the fact that he wasn't focusing on the stage positioning. He was also throwing stuff out. I mean, this is kind of part and parcel of playing Azwel, but you end up doing a lot of stuff that is massively unsafe, and so he was kind of going off of whiffs into unsafe stuff, which leads me to believe that it's like a rather wacky kind of position he's decided to put himself in.
Speaking of wacky, jumping over the low with the jumping A.
Yeah, right at the start.
Yeah. A great throw coming up from werD. Doesn't get the command throws. Maybe dropped it or just went for it.
Wow, the Such Brilliance was actually a really good option in that situation.
Definitely was. Wow. Okay.
I feel like he was trying to sidestep, and he got one of those Soul Calibur inputs where you try to press 2-2-2 and it ends up just giving you duck for a while.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a shame.
Nice. Yeah, decent whiff punish, doing a little preemptive, so I think it just kind of worked out in his favor. But speaking of working out in your favor, Beefcake gonna get this huge Calamity Symphony, taking the life lead with it. And now it's Christmas, 'tis the season.
If I was the Ivy player, I would notice that almost literally any and every situation in which Joe has whiffed, especially when it's like, oh, well, okay, that seemed a bit ambitious, but anytime that the Azwel player has whiffed, he has automatically gone into something like, especially if he's in Spear, has gone into something like Such Brilliance, into the Spear Shield Uppercut, a lot of like unsafe stuff. And so rather than trying to get a whiff punish, I would think that the best way to go about it is just let him kill himself.
Yeah, and Joe kind of doing like the classic of like negative move into GI, gonna get immediately blown up by werD, but now through the axe flow coming in, gonna get some decent Oki off this. Let's see, goes into sword, Psycho Crusher.
Did that hit on the ground?
I hit him getting up. He got up.
Oh, okay. And that should be, it's going to be, I think it could have been a ring out had it been a different transition, but ends up getting the kill off of the wall anyway. So we got 2 bars to probably 1 by the end of this round. It looks like we're going into Psycho Crusher into Sword A. Okay, it doesn't actually get hit by it that time, so that's nice. Ugh.
Yeah, got the online lows coming through. Great GI from werD. Re-GIs. Okay, unscaled damage. Going to be decent combo. Great positioning. I like werD staying on the ground, not taking part in the Oki, but, it could be a symptom too little too late, and it is.
Yeah, solid punish from Joe. So it really seems like what Joe wants to do is not play neutral at all. It's a matter of trying to make sure that like he's always in the driver's seat, which is something that Azwel can totally do. And so there's one of 2 ways that the Ivy player could go about this. He could either let the Azwel player kill himself, which would probably be my route, though at the same point, that does mean you're going to have to block quite a lot more. Or you can decide, okay, well, the best defense is a good offense, and it's probably nice that he got the original stage that was so successful for him in the first place. But he could just end up trying to go ham. Now you do end up risking just running into a lot of Azwel stuff that ends up happening. Yep. Yeah, see, this kind of thing.
Yeah, Joe is a very aggressive Azwel player. Yeah. So at this point, kind of overwhelming WwerD, but WwerD with the 6-6.
Tech of 6-6A gets hit by 6-6A into the sword throw. I mean, yeah. Okay, so yeah, you definitely need to. Another thing the Ivy player isn't necessarily doing all that well is really understanding what weapon the Azwel player is in, and so I find that he's mashing a lot with. Oh, that's a real shame not getting the punish off of that.
Yeah, but, I think he tried to 6B8, but didn't get.
Yeah. It's not. I also really wish he would stop getting up and trying to block these spears when he could just roll away. But the Ivy player seems to be mashing a lot when the Azwel's in sword, and then not mashing at all when the Azwel's in axe. And it's kind of the exact opposite of what you want. Is this gonna be? Yeah, it is. With the extra shoulder, that's gonna be more than enough. It also is important to note that Azwel's already in yellow, and it's only 1-1, so he might be able to make use of this.
Yeah, and Ivy's guard damage isn't like the best in the game, but it's definitely like passable how much guard damage she can do against you, especially when she starts getting like the things like Howling Spirits, which we haven't seen too much of. Okay, big axe low, but just whiffing, not gonna pop the trigger on the CE. That could have been a huge whiff punish.
Seems very unfamiliar. Yeah, see, he's trying to interrupt with grabs, but Joe has actually been pretty successful at sniffing those out and immediately going for a tech crouch. So he's not even going for a duck. He's specifically continuing with his pressure with a tech crouch. And I've also noticed that there's been a very similar series when it comes to the axe pressure that Joe has been putting off. And then he's going to... Oh, never mind. I would have been wrong there.
Yeah, so like one of the things that to add on to that, Joe is going into axe mode, so like he's right here and going for the axe low every time, but WwerD staying on the ground and not take a part in the huge CS coming through is going to even up that life lead and even take it.
I feel like even though that grab was successful, I really wish he would stop going for the grabs because he's been blown up for it so many different times.
You know what else is getting blown up for?
What's
not
that?
Blocking.
Yeah.
But okay, nice. The high beating out the Such Brilliance, but he's still in Almighty mode, so we could see it pop out again.
All right, he has him in the red. Ooh, oh, he beat the critical edge there. Joe, what are you doing?
Maybe he tried to wake up Soul Charge, but he was still in Soul Charge for that last.
I mean, it said critical edge. Yeah, you're probably right. I see what you mean now. Wow, okay.
Just was right into a grab. Crazy stuff. Popping Soul Charge, speaking of which, WwerD going to try and put a lot of damage in with his Ivy Soul Charge, but Joe's not giving him any opportunity, just mashing on him, throwing all these buttons his way. You can't even wake up.
Yeah, see, the Ivy player is just being way too desperate with some of these grabs. Now, he does have that guard break that he could potentially use to his advantage, but yeah, this is a very smart idea to try and mitigate any kind of issues that you could have. So, Soul Charge versus Soul Charge, but Azwel definitely in the... Oh, whoa, no!
Wow,
this isn't going to kill, but it's going to be very, very close.
Plus
yeah,
range with the Brilliance.
Yeah.
Yeah.